Okay. First, we have to solve the problem of the examination. I got several questions. We said it's the 8, that is what we agreed in the beginning, and I've heard it was written in the directory that it is the 15th. So, and I've heard that some people really now bet on the 8, so we do it on the 8. Is that okay for everybody? So who has another exam? And who cannot come on the 15th? That's a little bit. Also, not on the 15th. So like, so 2 against 2. For the written, we could. You have from what time to what time do you have an exam? Can you please check that? So that those you two, I think, when the exam will be. So I might do something special for the written thing, so that we do that a little bit separate with you two, and then. But you are in the same group, huh? So like that's a little bit much, yeah. Okay, there's another proposal, doing exam, I mean, in one day and doing presentation on another day. So, but what would you propose to do the exams on the 8th and the presentation on the 15th, or the other way around? So time for the model you would like to extend for the model? But would that help? Maybe let's do it like this. Those who have who cannot come, please send me the times when you are blocked.
Well, I'm blocked for the extra. Well, because I don't want to write 2 exams in one day. When I book the lectures, I always look at the date of the exam. Yes, when I book this lecture,
Okay. Okay, so I'm sorry, so I have messed it up. So we say we have 2 people who cannot come on the 15th. What could you do, for example, if you did the written example, could you do that on the 14th, or on, or do you have another exam, or are you in holidays already? What's the problem? Another exam. Okay. Yeah, it's. I know. I've messed it up. That's on me. Yeah? So it's we have to find a solution. No? Okay. Let's. But I see the problem now, and I will think about it. And so for 2 people, it's a problem here, and for the others, not. Right. So you booked for the 15th, meaning? Okay. I have to arrange it with you. Huh? Is that fine? So you should not have a disadvantage, though. Then, sorry for that. It looks like, huh? So because there's so I'm sorry, but I will find a good solution for you. So. That's okay. Oh, let's close. Oh, how do we close this thing now? There's everything new here. Oh, yeah, that's still there. Vorhang. It's a little bit dark. So let's do manuell, Vorhang, Vorhang hinten, That better? Okay. So, we are coming to the last lecture, actually the two last chapters in Unified Financial Analysis. First chapter 18. From all the types of analysis, we have discussed all except type 4. And type 4 is a kind of portfolio optimization here. So how would you do portfolio optimization? Can you imagine having risk pro? And you have to optimize a whole bank. That's or a part of the bank, of course, as well. So how would you do that, having such a tool? So IP, I put one point here, that's initial position. So the initial position, how would you do the risk-return thing of that? It's basically like running a Monte Carlo for one day or something like that, if you do it on static basis. So you have a certain expectation for tomorrow, and you have a variance. That is basically what you would do. But how would you go on from that? You would have to change the position, increase this position, decrease that position, and basically there is no real known algorithm to do that. That would be more handwork. Maybe you could write an algorithm which would bring you more closer to the efficiency frontier. But it could be also trial and error. So exchange some and find some new positions and then somehow figure out the efficiency frontier. You know, the one which you can't find examples outside. So that would be for the static analysis. So how would you do it for dynamic? So for dynamic, what you would do, you would have an initial position and you would have an initial strategy, one strategy. And you would run it with stochastic market conditions, also stochastic risk factors actually. All stochastic risk factors. And you would get an income over time and distribution over time. And that would give you again 1 point in the risk return scenario. And what would you change here? The strategy. You would have a second strategy, a third strategy, a fourth strategy, a fifth strategy. But it would be really a heavy job. So I'm not sure whether you can do that really in a highly efficient way. You could do it with trials, a few scenarios. That you definitely can do. But I don't want to promise you at the moment. But theoretically it's possible. If you have highly efficient computers, maybe an algorithm which creates new strategies, you know, and so it would test the space, more or less. And you might get something like efficiency frontier. So that would be the task. So you would have to write that and change it and find many different strategies. And then you would find the strategies which are close to the efficiency frontier. You could choose them. So that closes actually all the type of analysis which you can do, which we can consider or imagine today. Maybe there are others, but these are the ones. And what we have created is like a little bit a sandbox, like a general for his army. But your army is the bank. So you play around. Basically, we have a strong simulation engine, which helps you to build scenarios and to choose the best. But one question could come up. Now, is the system complete? I think I promised you a kind of complete system. So how can we even imagine that the system is complete? So what we will discuss now is what are the preconditions for completeness and where is the border of the system? Of course, for example, if you want to have a coffee, the machine doesn't present you a coffee. Yeah? So there's definitely always stuff which is outside the system. So let's find that border, what we promised. And then how do we prove completeness? And I have two approaches. One is a logical deduction, and the other one is a heuristic argument, actually extensive enumeration of all types of analysis which we know, and see whether the thing can do these types of analysis or not. That's the question. Okay, preconditions for the completeness. So this is the dynamic environment of the whole system here, and the following things need to be there that it is complete. First of all, we have to have single contract basis, which the system does offer. So everything has to happen on the single contract, because only then you can do all type of analysis without restriction. The second part which we need is an openness of the system, and there are mainly two areas where the system is open. One is the financial contracts. That means if the financial world invents a new financial contract, this system has to be able to model it. Or we can say at least it has to do it for 99% or something like that. For 99%, and 1%, that's anyway not that highly precise, and then it would be good. And today the contract types we have, I think, are around in this area. And the second open dimension is the behavior. Actually, behavior is like a catch-all dimension. So you can write functions, you can influence the system actually the way you want through behavior. So that keeps it very much to the task. So if you use that clever enough, you can solve basically everything. A third important dimension which the system has to contain to be complete is that value itself is a dimension. So we put here only value, but value means book value, and there are many different book values. We found the same events create many, many different book values, be it market value, fair value, be it amortized cost, be it nominal value, etc., etc. So they all depend on different type of valuation principles. So that is, but it's also there. So in RiskPro you can choose the valuation principles. So we have this completeness. And maybe the last important dimension here is that the time dimension, that it covers past, present, and future. We have been discussing much about present and future. Present is more or less static analysis. Future is dynamic analysis. What is past? So we haven't discussed that, but I think you find it in chapter 11, I guess. That's interesting yet to read. Is it 11? Historization, yes. The appendix to 11 is historization. So historization you can imagine as saving the static results every day on a single contract basis. That gives you a complete history. And of course you would aggregate after some time because it's such a huge amount of data and so on. But basically if you do a static analysis and historize that on a single contract basis, every result. So then you have a history. You can create everything from that. You don't need the flexibility in history like in dynamic simulation, because history is known. So we don't have to play with scenarios. The scenario is given. In the future, scenario is unknown, so we have to be able to play. That's the difference, actually. So this is the condition to have what I call a complete system here. Only under such conditions it is complete or can be complete. So what is excluded? There's something very important to be excluded, that any forensic analysis is excluded. So we assume the data is correct. So no cheating, no whatever. So that's very important. So it's also not a system for money laundering, checking, and so on. Although you could check quite a few things, you can check turnovers of accounts and so on, you could. But it's not really meant for forensic type of risk. So it's purely meant for financial risk here. Okay, so how are we going to prove that the system is complete? So this is the logical proof. So if financial contracts are promises to exchange cash flows, and if they follow certain patterns, and if these patterns depend on market condition, counterparty, and behavior is an open dimension as we saw it, and if we can model the patterns with the dependence, and of course if we can model those contracts, we said that already to a very far extent, then we have reached rock bottom of finance. There's nothing else. Because these are the conditions which generate the cash flows. And all the facts are there. We even have the fact that somebody doesn't pay, for example, in credit risk and all that. So here, that is the rock bottom. So everything must be derivable from that. And we have a good out-of-sample, when we the system goes back to the 90s, end of 80s, 90s, where it was conceived. No? And there are many things that are common now were not there. Like value at risk wasn't there, Basel, all this evolution in Basel and IFRS accounting, etc., were not there. And there was nothing we had to add to the system deep. Of course, we had to add a lot of reporting function. Take those results because people don't want to collect all the information to make the report all the time. If you have a Basel report, you want to press a button and you want to have Basel. Of course, and there are many little things which you have to collect and present in the right thing. In this sense, we had to extend, of course, but not on the basis. The same thing is true about Basel III, and the same thing will be true about the future evolution of regulation. You will see that why. One reason is because it has influenced regulation itself. But I'm quite confident that it will be like that because the logic of the whole game is how to generate cash flows. If you get all these parameters, then you know how the game goes. So far. The rest, of course, outside that would be irrational finance. You still can go to a woman with a big crystal glass if you like. But we don't have anything to do with that. You can take her interest forecast and put it into risk row, and then it becomes rational again. But there we have our borders. But the rest works logically. So the heuristic proof I really went, and in the book it's more detailed. You can go through all the little items of ratios which are there. I'm not focusing on the small ones now. Here I just want to focus on the risk-adjusted measures. So they are a little bit the crown today of risk management. So what can we do about risk-adjusted measures? So generally, a risk-adjusted measure is return over capital. So that's the main input which you have here, but they are risk-adjusted. You adjust either return, you adjust either capital, or you adjust both. So that is basically what you do. So you have return over capital, and then, depending on what you want to do, you adjust one, the other, both. So, and there are different techniques. Let's just talk about a little bit, then how do we calculate, for example, capital? And return is very closely related. So first of all, we have the time dimension. We can look at capital from as it is today or as it was in the past, where we can see it. You can have measures based on past results. Then you just see how it was. Return over capital from the past. Or you can take them today, or you can take them into the future. So this time, and we have it all there. So whatever you want. Here, Then the available capital, sometimes it's measured on book terms, sometimes it's measured on mark-to-market terms. Everything there. Or then the necessary capital, again, that's normally on economic terms. But even there are different economic terms. So you can have it on VAR, expected shortfalls, stress test, what you think is the expected. So there are different things you can take out of the system, or you can even base that on regulatory terms. You can say the formula of Basel tells me how much capital I need. It does. Whether it's a good measurement, it's another question, but you can do that. So you pull it out and take the formula from Basel or solvency and plug that into the system. So everything is there. Take two measurements, RAROC and EVA. RAROC is historic, normally. So you look at historic results, and EVA is expected value added. That's normally more forecasting oriented. But, things mix up in reality. So RAROC is profit over risk-adjusted capital. So you take revenues, you can generate revenues, minus expenses. So there, and then minus expected losses. You can generate expected losses using the credit risk function, for example, and take the transfer values. The transfer values, this is funds transfer pricing, which is part of the income thing, so you have to take them out and divide it to capital reserved, excluding expected loss. So all is there. We have it all. EVA is just expected return, so that needs a forecast. So you do a dynamic simulation of income simulation, and then you take the risk-adjusted equity, and that you can do with some volatility, like kind of VAR measure, and take the risk, the rate for equity. Like whatever you have to charge, that has to be deducted from that, divided by risk-adjusted equity. So all there, and risk-adjusted equity measurable over different ways of doing it. But normally it's a kind of valued risk, which gives you a certain certainty within a time band. This is a very nice report of risk-adjusted capital. So you see here in this report how it's built from below. So first of all, on the left side you have what is real. That is history as it evolves over time. So it's history, but in the future as it will come. And plan, this is the plan. So that was a forecast. So you did a dynamic simulation here, and you had a forecast for a certain period. And then you will see how history builds up over time here. So first we start with revenue. That could be like interest income minus interest expense. Typical. Sorry, I have interest income here and expense here. So there are already two things. But there are more expenses there. There is credit loss, there is FX loss, and all that stuff goes into this calculation. So what you get here is then the income from operation, and then here it's the administrative cost, and then you get the operational income. From these figures, one figure we don't derive from RiskPro as we have defined it. Which one is it? Just from those which I mentioned here. It's the operating cost. So operating costs, of course, if you do a dynamic simulation, even then we have the operating cost there, because we have forecasted it. But the historic operated cost, these you take out of other systems. What would be a typical system where you get the operating cost? SAP, for example. Every pencil, every piece of paper, every screw and every bolt, and every salary and so on. So you get them there. And you see these systems are quite orthogonal. They are almost not related to financial contracts, very roughly. Sometimes there is, you might from a profit perspective. But so it doesn't take any harm to take that from another system. Because that's people-related, premise-related, electricity-related, so basically no relationship to your activity. So the system works perfect by collecting it from a system like SAP. So you come finally here to operating cost. And then now you have different, for example, RORAC. Huh? So RORAC, you can then take economic capital, you know, so you have the economic income, and you take the economic capital. So how would you calculate that? Classical way to calculate economic capital? We mentioned it before already, a VAR. For example, you know, you need some. So that's the capital you need to operate your firm here, and then so we get RORAC here, and then we have here the available capital. The available capital is what you have. Huh? You might have so much capital, but you need only so much. Or the other way around. Now, in this case, we have more available capital than what we need. So we utilize the capital only to 86%, because we have too much capital. So if you take that into account, so return on equity, that is on the real capital. So that's another figure. And normally such analysis, they should be done for different types of business, like you do it for trading, you do it for loans, so then you get how much capital and the return on capital of each thing. That's basically what every CFO and CEO of a bank would like to see. Now today, it's often a very difficult exercise. Now for you, it's easy to imagine. Yeah? So we only needed one number, which was not in the system as you have it in front of you, which is the cost thing. Huh? So you get that. In reality then, each number, in most realities, each number comes from a different system. And you have problems like even the sign problem. You know, you're not sure whether you have the same sign rule, you know, what positive and negative means. You know, and plus, plus, plus. So you can imagine what comes up on top. Either you have a lot of work, and you're still not quite sure whether it's right, or you have a very strange number up there. Now, having now, of course, one source, one data source, and one algorithm to generate always the events where all these different results were derived from. So one view, so we have an unparalleled consistency. So that is, in most cases of the banks, not the case. Like, surely not in the UBS. So there you have multiple systems, and even for a thing like value, you don't have one system. You have one for the bonds, one for savings, one for I don't know what. And then you somehow have to add it up. Yeah. So what we have here is really something what you could call the financial laboratory. And it's not alchemy. It's a combination of good data, art, and science. And I must say, in this order. So, and I put science last. I think it's much more diligent work. There's also science. I think we see it. Huh? So, and there's a lot of logic, etc. But I think it's much more important to use such a system very intuitively. And if you use it intuitively, it helps you a lot, because it helps you to understand the real world of finance. I hope so. That is what I understand. So, and I hope you have also learned to understand a little bit better. Or if not, let me know. I would be very interested what we can improve. You know, it was a little bit sad because so many, too few of you signed this, you know, there's a test, quality assurance thing. So we didn't get results. How good it was, because there were less than 10 who answered. So we don't know. Pity. So I think it's a bad idea to let you do it just via the internet. Before we did it, before the examination on paper, we got them all. Now the internet, it's very personal, so it's technically a good solution, practically probably not. Yeah, so much for the completeness. So I think we have a pretty complete system here. Now there's another one.